Okay, so now I'm going to jump ahead and talk a little bit about Toby's coming out. So a lot of time passed between our conversations. It came up occasionally. A little bit later, I'm going to talk to you about a friend of mine named Mason, and I'll explain that situation in a couple of videos. But for now, we'll just say that the idea of FTMs and gender identity disorder came up in conversation a few times. And again, Toby was always pretty nonchalant about it. A little bit jealous, seemingly, in retrospect, I guess. I didn't notice it that much. Or I ignored it or something at the time. But the point is, finally, one day I noticed Toby and I shared a YouTube account, his old YouTube account, just for making playlists and whatever, listening to music. And so, as all you YouTubers know, when you go to the YouTube homepage, if you were logged in, it gives you suggested videos based on what you've been watching. So I had noticed that for about a week, Toby had been watching FTM videos on YouTube. I kept my mouth shut, I didn't say anything. So then one day we were watching The Real L Word online, and Toby interrupted the show because he really wanted to show me something. So he told me not to look. And then when he told me to look, he had it open full screen, so I couldn't see what the video was called or anything. And it was a picture of a tattooed guy's chest. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was at the time. Maybe Skylar, because he watches him a lot. I don't know. Anyway, it was someone who was post-op, and he just had the video paused at a chest shot and said, "Did you know that this guy used to be a girl?" And at that time I didn't really know what to say, because I didn't know if that was an actual invitation to maybe talk about this or to let it go as just a hint. So at that time I looked at Toby and I said, "Are you sure?" Half jokingly, trying to just make it an easygoing kind of thing. And I said, "Are you sure you don't want to be a boy?" And Toby said, no, and kind of brushed it off. And we left it at that and continued on watching The Real L Word. About 2 weeks after that, I noticed Toby was liking songs that FTMs were singing, posting videos of them singing. And whenever Toby liked anything on his YouTube account, it would show up on Facebook. So his Facebook wall was being flooded with all these guitar-playing FTMs. So I ignored that and let it go and put it on my mind. I figured at this point that he was getting ready to talk about it. He was dealing with something. And I had a really big struggle with myself as to whether this was time to step in and let him know that it was okay to talk about it, or if I should just wait for him to come around. My final decision was that I had brought it up enough times. I figured he knew me well enough to know that I would be okay with this and I would be a good, someone that was okay to talk to. So I let it go and I ignored it. I didn't ignore it. I thought about it, but I didn't vocalize any recognition to Toby. I wanted him to do it on his own and wait till he was comfortable. So eventually, at some point not long after any of this happened, we were laying in bed one day and he said, "I think that I might want to be a boy." And at that point, I can tell you there was no element of surprise for me. It was more just, where do I go from here? I wasn't sure really what he was ready to talk about. So I just kind of started asking him questions about how he felt, how he came to the decision. Let him know that I was proud of him for trying to figure things out with himself, and that whatever he wanted to talk about, I was open to listen to and to discuss. And that I just really, I decided that the most important thing at that moment was not to start, filling his head with information and overwhelming him, but just trying to be a really good support person. And so that night we had a really good talk, and I told him that I loved him and I would love him no matter what his decision was. And so within the next couple days, I suggested calling a counselor or a therapist, trying to get him some sort of appointments. I was trying to explain to him basically that he didn't need to know whether he wanted to be transgendered or not, whether he wanted to transition. He didn't need to have that all figured out in order to talk to someone, that in fact talking to someone could help. So I made a bunch of calls, and I left a bunch of numbers, and I was trying to set things up, and then Tobi looked at me one day and asked me to stop. He said he felt like I was pushing him or rushing things. Things were happening too fast, and he wasn't sure what he wanted, so I backed off. At that point, we had some problems between the two of us, which I will get into in the next video, where we actually ended up breaking up. It has to do with his ex-girlfriend. They were together for a long time, like I said, 4 years. It was his only real, serious relationship, and it was a pretty serious relationship. It was pretty long. There was a lot of emotional damage left over after that relationship. I can't really speak much on that relationship. I have one side of the story and a very small portion of the other side of the story, so I'll try and leave my personal opinions and judgments out of this story. But the bottom line is he felt he might still be in love with his ex-girlfriend, and he needed to figure that out. So to make this a long story short, instead of talking about it in the next video, I'll just finish it up in this video. Tobi took a break and was trying to work on things with his ex. In that time, I was really hurt. I was devastated by the breakup, to be honest. I didn't handle it well at all. We lost our house. We had a really nice house. We lost our house. I had to move back in with my mother, who I have a horrible relationship with. I was really kind of stranded. I was put in a really, really shitty position in that breakup. But being who I am and loving Tobi as much as I do, I couldn't not be there for him. So I was the most supportive person that I think anyone could ever imagine. I sat and talked to him about his feelings, about his ex. I encouraged it. I helped him plan dates with her. I totally put my own emotions and feelings on the back burner to help Tobi try and figure out what was going on with him. And a lot of it really hurt, but I wouldn't have done things any other way. And I don't think that I did anything really wrong. I think what I did was a good thing, being there for him. He might not have necessarily deserved it at the time in a lot of people's opinions, but when you love somebody, you learn that you love them no matter what. And all I really, really wanted was for him to be happy, and whether that was with me or not, wasn't a factor in whether I was going to be there for him or not. We spent a lot of time talking, and anyway, through everything, Tobi decided that yes, he did want this transition. So yeah, the day that Tobi told me he legitimately was ready, had decided that this is what he wanted to do, I was really, really happy for him. I congratulated him, and I got my ass in gear. I printed off the Harry Benjamin standards of conduct or whatever it is, And I read the whole damn thing so Tobi wouldn't have to, and highlighted all the important parts so Tobi would only have to read the important parts. And I started talking to people about getting him hooked up with a therapist.